are the Billie Bauer Network, and we are out of the Kansas City area, and we are licensed in both Kansas and Missouri, since the metro, the state line cuts right down the center of the metro. So we cover both sides of the metro and 2 states. So I'm Billie. I am the CEO and the Rainmaker, and I have been in this business for 21 years and have loved the climb. It's just been a blast. And I will let, well, before we do that, we have 7 of us that are on our team. We have 4 of us that sell. We have a rock star director of operations who you'll get to meet here in a second. And we have 1 transaction coordinator, and we have a runner that takes our signs and lockboxes. So I've been in, as I said, I've been in the business for 21 years, retired teacher, started as a part-timer, and now have worked in, obviously 20 years later, to having our team and all that. So I will let the rest of our team that is here introduce themselves. We'll start with Ryan.
Go ahead, B.
I'm Brenda Dean. I'm Director of Operations for Billie Bauer Network. I've been in real estate for over 25 years, and have done buying and selling and admin, and just realized I really love the systems aspect of it, and sometimes like bossing people around. So it's a good fit to be the director.
And I am Ryan Hemphill. I am the lead buyer's agent on our team. There are 3 total buyer's agents on our team. I've been in the business now for 14 years. I am one of the few that started right out of college in 2007. And I am also Billie's daughter.
Yes, we're mother-daughter. We don't know how it works, why it works, but it works, and we're blessed. So
yes. Yep.
Great.
So we just we were invited here today, which is awesome. And we appreciate the opportunity to talk with you guys. And we have outlined some points of how we kind of run our team, what we've built our team on. But we also wanted to open it up to you all and see if you guys had specific things that you wanted to get from today's kind of mastermind. The 3 of us really enjoy interaction and don't always love just talking at you. So the more participation, the better for us. We kind of like to feed off of you guys as well. So is there anything specifically that you guys came to this today for that you want to hear about our team? And I'm going to open up the chat box too, just to see if anybody is typing in there. And if not, we can just go ahead and start with kind of what we had, and you guys can interject with, any questions throughout the way.
Okay. Yeah, just feel free if you have a question, just to ask. It's fine. We love interaction when we do this. It's great. So, okay.
We do have one question real quick in the chat box that just popped up. It said, I'd love to know how you got started and how we built.
All right. So we started with me being a single agent, and back in the day when you are running crazy and you realize you need help. And my daughter, as you see here, Ryan, was just graduating from KU. And she said to me that spring, she said, hey, how about if I help you? And of course, my first reaction, I always tell everybody this, my first reaction was, I sent you to 4 years of college to do this? Are you kidding me? And but anyway, she had a great vision and saw that we could be a team. So we, at that point, decided to use our strengths. As you know, this business is so vast and overwhelming, and that I would become our listing agent and she would work with all the buyers. So from the beginning, it was a thing where I, turned the buyers to her. If it was a sorority sister that had been my friend for 40 years and wanted to buy, a luxury home, Ryan would work with her. So I think that was a lot of the key in getting started, was to not, cherry pick your buyers away from your buyer's agent. So that's kind of how we began. We basically hired our director of operations, and that was a painful process. We learned the KPA process and went through that whole process for the first time with Branda and hired her. And then Missy joined us, I think, 3 years after that. And then Terry has been with us for 3 years. And so that's kind of how, it has evolved over the 20 years that we've been in the business. Okay. All right. So basically, how we began was that we decided to lay the foundation with our database. And everybody's got a database, right? Whether it's in a notebook or if it's in a CRM or whatever, you've got one. It's in your phone. And what we decided to do early on was that we had been to family reunion. We had participated in all kinds of classes. And Ryan and I decided that this guy, Gary Keller, kept talking about this thing called lead generation that we needed to do 3 hours a day. And so we decided to dedicate ourselves Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. We didn't do Tuesday because we would attend our office team meetings. And we would come from 9 to 11 together and start with our database. And we did basically start the 36 touch from that point. And she started with the Z's and I started with the A's, and we, put everybody on a 90-day rotation. And we have done that since 2012. And that's, critical in building your business. Does everybody do that with their database? Do you have any questions on how we do that or anything? No? Okay.
And one thing I'll add to that, Billie, if you don't mind, is when we did start going through we used Top Producer, and we still use Top Producer because unfortunately we have found for the team function in command, it's just not up to where we need it to be yet to function, how we'd like it. And as Billie mentioned, we've been doing this since 2012 consistently. And so we have years and years of notes on each contact in there, and to pull those out of that and to disrupt our system has been kind of a challenge. So we started it, and then when we would make that contact, automatically the next contact would go in 90 days later. So we were alternating at that point, doing every 90 days, you were either getting a phone call from us or a note. Now we have integrated more texting also because it's, more relevant to today's day and age, but we are still in the office every single morning, making our phone calls as a team.
It's great to come in and do this together, because that when you have someone to meet and someone that is going to be sitting there doing the same thing that you're doing, you're probably more apt to do it than you would if you were sitting at home and the phone rings or the dog needs out or whatever, and then all of a sudden the hour's up and you haven't done it. So that's been great for us. If you're a single agent, team up with somebody and meet them, and just dedicate the time that you're going to make your calls together. It doesn't matter if you call your database for sale by owner, your web leads, whoever. Just do it. And the consistency of that is what has helped us build to where we are now.
We do have a lead generation geared question of what is our most effective tactic used in lead generation to grow our database large enough to have the business to start a team.
I think really it's been about thinking about who we talk to on a daily, weekly, monthly, yearly basis, and making sure that they are included in our database. Any of the leads that come in, the team has been very, very intentional about making sure that they're in the database, that they get our 36 touch. And we do some snail mail, we do some emails, we do some texting, like Ryan said. So we try to hit every area that every generation and every technology could possibly have some communication with us and feel comfortable with that. We recently changed to, you may have heard, the DTD2. Originally, when I kept hearing DT, I'm like, what in the world is that? And so this year, it's do the database twice. And so we transitioned from the foundation that Billie and Ryan laid early on into every month, every week, we do different letters. And so, for example, you know, like January 3rd, we would start with A and W. The next week, B and E. And the beauty, I think, that we have found is it's much easier to go through your entire database when you're looking at it like as in those two letters, because the genius who set this up, we're in awe. How, right? I mean, Billie's laughing because like in the last month or so, she's like, I'm caught up. It's such a good feeling because in this business, we have so many, you know, boxes to check. To have something to check off and be like, I'm actually caught up. The DTD2 has really helped that.
Yeah, and it's so simple, and it is mapped out for us. You know, the thing that Ryan and I have done, we have just taken the MREA and we have just followed what they gave us to follow. And when you do that, I mean, you don't have to reinvent a whole lot. You can get creative in your own ways a little bit, but you don't have to do the blueprint. It's all there for us. And the DTD2, some genius went through and figured out the letters that.
Hold on, Julian. Okay, I'll just leave.
Whoops. Anyway, they figured out the letters that work together, and so you know is awesome from that standpoint.
Well, and kind of going back to how we, you know, the most effective way too is we should probably clue you in that majority of our business is referral based. Or repeat clients. So by growing our database and keeping in touch with everyone already in there that we have, what are we at this year, Billie?
77% right now.
I would have said 73. So 70% of our business in 2021 has been either repeat client or a referral from a past client. So just constantly staying in front of them has been the most effective way, I think, that we use for our lead generation, because they know us. They know that we're going to be calling them and talking to them every 90 days. Plus, and we'll get to this too, plus we sprinkle in events and giveaways and things like that as well. So we really take a lot of pride on loving on our people. But for me, when I first got into the business, just building that database, I was like grabbing anybody I could to stick in there. I mean, old teachers that I had in high school that I knew were still in the area, friends, reaching out to, you know, your Facebook friends and asking them if you could continue to keep in touch with them and gathering all of the information, address, phone number, email address to put them into your database, to grow it. I mean, everybody has social media of some sort, whether it be Instagram, Facebook, all of the above. Everyone has a cell phone. There's a database right there that you can build off of that as well.
And we've even started looking towards our social media platforms to see who we have in there, that we can maybe get into our database as well, if they're not already there.
Yeah, and I think we have become a lot more intentional about our conversations with people. Just when you go to a party, what's the first thing everybody asks you? Seriously, they ask you, how's the market? And we have, you know, answered that by going, it's great. God, who do you know? We are just very short of inventory. Who do you know that I can call and, you know, help sell their home? And so, you know, you don't have to be sales pitchy at the party, but, you know, just do it in a way that it's a casual conversation. And we've been much more intentional about contacts, you know, in that regard, just when we're out and, you know, using our everyday contacts that we run into to lead gen. Any questions about DTD2 before we go on? Anything?
I will be sharing. We have a whole series of things that we will talk about that we can share with, you know, your your MCA so they can share it with the office. And one of the things is like next year's DTD2. So if it's something you want to look into, and we have it all separated out by starting January 1. And for some reason, my computer won't pull it up. I would do a screen share. However, later on, if you would like me to show you our 36 touch, I believe I can screen share and show that because that did come up.
Yeah. Stephanie says, yes, please. So we'll do that.
Awesome.
For sure. Okay. All righty. Let's talk a little bit, Brandy, you can talk a little bit about if you're trying to build a team, just briefly about the career visioning that we do when we're adding team members.
Sure. So, when I started almost 9 years ago, it wasn't called career visioning just yet, but it was a process, and it was Keller Williams' initial process. And I remember thinking very early on, like we started the process in February, and I'm thinking, oh my gosh, I love these girls. They should just hire me. And then the next time I go in for another interview, and I'm thinking, just hire me. And, so like by the fourth time, I'm like meeting the team leader, and then I'm meeting this, and I'm thinking, and my friends are like, what are you doing? However, I will say that the beauty was they knew what they liked about me. I knew what I liked about them. Day one, there wasn't that awkward, I don't know them, because you truly delve into each other and you know each other on a very, really a deep level. And they knew, like, initially, I think I told them how to get into a database or something. It was awesome, and it was lengthy, and yet they told me it would be, so they set that expectation up front. Then when they did come out with the official career visioning and the 30, 60, 90, we actually took it a couple of times. Originally it was the career visioning, and when they added the 30, 60, 90, it's almost like it came in from the back and it closed the loop. So it was like all the questions you had, like, okay, well, where does this lead? Then the 30, 60, 90 sets you up for after the interview and they start, what do you do and how do you make sure that all that trouble you went to is successful? And so we have definitely had some failing forward moments.
Just a few.
Yes. And I will say at points, like, you look outside yourself and you're thinking other teams make this look so easy, and oh my gosh, why are we not getting this right? And you realize it wasn't easy. It was just us looking, at their outsides, not their insides. And so do not feel like if you've had some failed hires where you were unfortunate enough to help them find a new opportunity, it's just part of the process. We're not positive even, who we need on the bus sometimes. And when we get someone, we maybe hopefully very quickly realize they're not quite fitting the bill. And then some of the realization comes that we're very hard on ourselves and we're very driven. And so sometimes we might nitpick, and, that never happens. And so just understanding kind of like the, what is the book that's like, everything, don't sweat the small stuff, and everything is small stuff. And yet, even though in business, we don't want them to drop things and have things fall through the cracks, but you really realize after going through a couple that you've got to look here and figure out, okay, what am I not giving them that they need? And am I being too hard on them? And so that whole 30, 60, 90 really helps solidify what that path will be. So maybe, well, I think Gary Keller himself says you have a 50-50 shot.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and just kind of a testament to our team too, is that, yes, we have failed forward several times. And those that are on our team currently have been with us anywhere between 3 and 8 years. So that's something kind of special too, over 8, almost 9 years, really. So when you do the process and you don't fail forward, the longevity of it definitely does pay off. We do have a question here too. What is the most notable fail forward moment that we have had?
Oh goodness.
You mean just one?
Right.
We could probably write a
That is
book
so
on
gracious.
it. We can write a book.
You know,
Oh,
for me, I think one of the biggest ahas, and then I'll get to the fail forward, was that you have to become what you're looking for. So back in the day, we were hiring an ISA. I had very little D. And I knew in order to attract the talent that we needed, I needed to be a lot more, driver. So ironically, fast forward to 5 years, oh my, the girls will tell you, I'm just not as nice as I used to be. And I just will drive. Now, the fail forward one of mine, and I know Billie's going to giggle and she'll probably have one to add to this. We hired someone, did not realize, because who would ask if they have a car? They're not an agent, right? They're in the office. Come to find out, she's Ubering here, she's Ubering there. All of a sudden and she was a listing coordinator. So how are we going to get out and measure? How are we going to, and it was like, you try and try and try, and there were so many great things. And yet it was like, this is just taking way too much of our time to figure out how to make this work for her. One of the questions we now ask is, do you have a working motor vehicle? We would have that conversation potentially with an agent, but office staff, kind of important if they're going to leave the office.
mm-hmm. We learned from that never to assume. I mean, who in this day doesn't drive? And we found out the person we hired didn't drive, and we needed them to go measure listings. And that was probably one of the biggest fail forward moments. The second one was,
it may be a little different for you all too, because you have more public transportation in your area, where we're in the suburbs. We're in Kansas City. So
right. Yeah, early on in our hiring process, we were really anxious to get an ISA in place, which is a mistake. You can't be anxious when you're hiring people. And again, we cut a few steps short. We thought, oh, it'll be fine. He'll be fine. And then we knew we cut it short. We hired him. And we knew when we toured the office, just by the comments and his presence, that we had made a huge mistake. And it was our fault because we didn't follow the process.
And it ended up costing us, a lot of time and money.
Right. Yep.
Because you figure you're doing all this training beyond, when you got them hired. It's just amazing. Within that first week, that's the bulk of what they're going to build on. And it was, you don't see. I think for me, at the end of the hiring process, one of the lessons was that even if you've spent all this time going through the career visioning with them, if you have one thought that you're like, I don't know, listen to that thought and dig deeper, and talk to maybe, present those pieces to your board and talk that through to see if they got that same reaction. Because there have been other times that you question yourself, because you're like, oh, she's awesome, he's awesome, they have all this track record, all of their references were amazing, we went 2 or 3 deep, and yet there's like one little piece, and it's the one piece that you should have paid the most attention to. I definitely, just listen to your gut. It really does.
Yeah.
Steer you the right way when you listen.
And Ryan and I are both very high eyes, and Brenda has a lot of eye in her as well. And we, as you know, eyes tend to love everybody. I think that's probably one of the most challenging things in hiring, is that we have to not fall in love with everybody that we talk to. And you just have to be objective. It's a big decision, when you're bringing people on to your team. So you must be careful.
Yep. Any other questions on the hiring process and feeling forward that you guys have?
Okay.
Richard, I don't want to forget your question. I just don't know, Billie and Brenda, when you want to address, he would like to know how our market is here and where do we see it going. Do we want to do that now or a little later? It's up to you guys.
We can go ahead and address that. I think we are seeing a little bit of a slowdown since the end of August. And normally, last year we know all the rules were out the window of any kind of timing. I don't know how you guys were, but here everything was out the window, all the rules. Normally, the end of August through the middle of September here is a slower time because people are getting kids back in school. Football, sports are starting and everything, and it's normally slow. And this year we saw that again as a norm. So it's still we still have a shortage of inventory. I think we might be up to 1.2 months of inventory now on our last run in September. So I don't know how you guys are running on your inventory, but it's still run. You can address about how many offers you write, for your people.
Yeah. So, and that kind of actually will lead into what we're talking about next. But so we track everything on our team. But one thing I started tracking last year in 2020 was how many offers we were writing versus how many offers we were getting as buyer's agents. So I know Missy, another agent, and both of our records for 2021 is 11 that we've written for one contract. So 11 contracts for each client before we got an accepted one, and they were both 20% down conventional buyers. So our market was at, I think the lowest was 0.8 months of inventory on the market this year. But we've been hanging around that 0.1 to 1.1 for the last year and a half. So I don't know if we really see it changing too much as far as like more inventory coming on. I think that we will be probably back in the same spot as we are next spring through, summer. Our year also was a little bit later this year for whatever reason, meaning normally it's always my son's birthday weekend, which is the end of February, where like it seems like spring market kicks in. And this year it was like later in March, that everything just came a little bit later. And then we as a team had our best September ever year to date and trickled into October. But as far as new clients and writing more contracts in October, they were down quite a bit over the other like appointments and contracts written, things like that were down as a whole and as a team in October. We're starting to see that balance a little. And I wrote 2 contracts yesterday and wake up this morning and I'm competing in both now. So we have deadlines and things like that. It also depends on the price range. The good news is that I'm typically now competing between 3 and 5 offers versus 10 to 15 offers on one property. So a little less. I don't know if you guys are seeing that there too. We'd love to hear feedback on that because we are curious what other markets are doing. Also, I see somebody said, yes, it's a little low as well. I'm assuming your inventory. But yeah, anybody, if you guys want to chime in on that, we'd love to hear that. So Richard, I hope that answers your question. If you guys want us to build on anything more on that, you can, or we can, but otherwise I'll roll into kind of tracking and what we do for that. We feel is super important and has made a big change in our business and how we do things. So we started with the 4 conversations. And I'm sure you guys have all heard of that before. But basically what we track as a team weekly is our appointments held, our agencies signed, our contracts that have been accepted, and any closings that we've had. And then also, as I mentioned, I track for the buyer's agents any written offers that didn't get accepted. So those are 4 numbers that we have, and we base those 4 conversation goals for a month off of our annual goal. So we have to come to our weekly team meeting every single week and report our numbers to the team. So for example, I need 6 buyer appointments a month, new buyer appointments a month. and 5 agencies signed a month. So those are my goals to hit each month, and we record them out weekly. So tracking has become a big thing. We each, Billy, Branda, and I each have our own coaches. It's not a requirement to have a coach on our team. We used to coach as a team, and then as we have grown, we've realized that we needed our own specialized coaches. So my coach really hyper focuses on me tracking my personal numbers, our GCI numbers, which we're actually going to shift into focusing our 4 conversations reporting numbers to GCI as well next year, so that we make sure that everybody's on track to living their life by design that they would like. So, and then other things that we track aside from the 4 conversations are, because we lead generate, Billy's coach always wants to know what our conversion rates look like. So we have to report how many dials we do each week. So in a dial can count as a call or a text. How many contacts you've had, that can be somebody responded to a text, you left somebody a voicemail and they responded via text that way, or you actually, by God, had a ear-to-ear phone conversation with someone. Also, face-to-face can be a contact. We do handwritten notes. We think that is still something important that everybody goes to first when they get their mail, is something that's handwritten. So we do handwritten notes, and then we track appointments set and how many we've added to the database for that week. So then by the end of the month, we have our total numbers and see where we're at on our goal. And then mid-month, like, okay, I'm at one appointment of 6 and it's the 15th. What do I need to do to step that up? So we have those conversations. We also have several boards around our office that track our numbers and contracts that have gotten accepted and things like that too. So any questions on tracking or importance of that? Have we planned our 2022 goals yet? Yes, we have. We did that at the beginning of October, the first week of October. We take a half day Monday is what we always do. So we do, we lead generate in the morning. And then the last 2 years, we've gone to Billy's house and all gather around her big dining room table, bring in lunch. And Branda and Billy do an awesome job of planning that advance for us. And we do a half day from noon to 5 on Monday. And then we come back on Tuesday morning and we do from 9 to noon to finish up. So those are all done. And we also plan all of our events and everything at that time for the whole next year. And talk about our giveaways and ideas for that too. They want to know what our goals are. So do you want to know team goals or, team goals would probably be good if you want to share that, Billy.
Okay. Next year we have we will do 1.1 in GCI. That equates to 125 units and about 42 million. So and then it's broken out. Everybody has, their individual goal. And then, we add that all together to figure out where it's all going to come from, individually, from the listings, from the buyers, all that. So, yeah, the good thing about, having the boards and every week, the numbers are there. And we have a couple C's on our team that love numbers. That's their favorite part of the meeting, going over the numbers, but it's really cool that everybody knows exactly where we are, because it's hanging right behind me. And, we just surpassed the 30 million mark. And that puts us at 87 units so far this year. So, everybody knows that and everybody sees it when they walk in and out. And it's awesome that it's always constantly in front of us. Right to my right here, hanging up, are my goals for this year, next year. My Ryan, Missy, Terry's, and Branda's. Everybody's is right there. So, it's just good to have it hanging in front of you.
Another thing we do too as a team, is we do what we call our dream boards or our vision boards. And so we do those once a year as well. And we hang those up in our office so that we see them every day and everyone else sees them. So, we have personal things on there, business things on there too, which is also just kind of fun to have a visual instead of just numbers written out for you.
Yeah.
And I think that just lends itself to the fact that I believe all of us as a team, kind of the whole what you focus on expands. And so having it in front of us, like I'm a visual, so I love having it in front of me, but not everybody is. And yet I think even if you see it out of the corner of your eye, or it's right in front of you, or you sit down and, it's right to your side, it just keeps us a little more intentional and reminds us of why we're here and why we're driving as hard as we are, and why we want to take these amazing vacations from time to time, personal, that, we're building that, so that our family is able to do it. So it just kind of grounds us into those reasons that we do it by focusing.
Mm-hmm. Plus, once we make our GCI goal, our unit goal, or our volume goal, we all get to do something fun together. And last year was a phenomenal year for us. So in the last week of August, we all took off and went to St. Martin and took our guys with us, and spent 6 days there, away from the phone as much as we could. Got our business covered and went and had a blast together and celebrated our successes, for that. Also along the way, don't just do it once a year. As Ryan said earlier, we had a record September, which is the record for all the months that we've been in business. September was the best. And so we are going on the 19th of November to celebrate that success as well. So, celebrate along the way too, because it's fun. This business, you have to make it fun. And it's not all just work, work, work. You just have to enjoy it along the way as well. And it's been an amazing ride for us. We've loved it.
And I think that's all part of like building that culture in your team, no matter how big or small it is. Just doing the little things. It doesn't have to be a trip. It can be just even a special lunch or something. Because early on that was what it was. And early on, our big months, we now are like, oh my gosh, we were so grateful for those. And I think with like the 19th, when we get together, or the trip, inviting our significant other, or a friend, if I'm here late, my husband's not like in the past, like, why are you still there? Like, he's like, oh, cool, we're going on our trip. Like he thinks of it in terms of, all right, are you doing what you need to do? And, and it just makes him so much more supportive. I mean, even my kids are like, oh, she's at work. That's awesome. Because, and I don't do that a lot. It's just when I do, they completely understand and they support that. And I feel like the rest of the team kind of gets that support too. Once they see that, that's just part of our culture. We care about everybody, and we want to make sure that, we feel like a family, and we support each other and celebrate, our wins, no matter how big or small. So.
Well, and buy-in from your family is a huge aspect, because you want them to not only support you, but support the people that you're working with, because especially if you have team members, getting their significant other to buy into not only their goals, but the team goals really does make a difference. And like Brenda was saying, we are all very close knit group, and we're all women, and all of our husbands get along very well, and we include them in things. So like, not just celebrating your team. Yeah, we do afternoons with just the team at a local winery. One of our team members' daughters always calls when we're at a winery, and she's like, oh my God, you guys are always at wineries. But she just happens to call when we're there. It's not all
You got to relax.
But, at the same time, it's like, yeah, we plan things together because that camaraderie and support is there with everything. And I feel that that's super important if you have a team, or if you're building a team, things like that. When I don't know the current status for you guys right now as far as COVID openings go, but when we were all shut down last year, Billie went to that local winery to support a local business, and she did pop buys on our own team's porch and delivered us jugs of wine slushies. And then we had a team Zoom that day, and there was a little note that said, bring your wine slushy to our team Zoom, so just little things like that to keep people involved. If they're not comfortable going out is really important too. Kind of a side note.
Yeah. Yeah. It's so funny in St. Martin, the guys, as they are around the pool bar, they're trying to figure out where we're going to go next time and how to ensure that we all make our goals so that they can do that. And it's just, it's fun. It's a fun buy-in for everybody. Okay. We're going to talk a little bit about our 36 Touch, which we really think has been a huge help in getting us to where we are. And basically, we just call it loving on our people. And oops, what happened there?
I'm sharing, Billy.
Oh, okay. Okay. Oh, gotcha. Okay. So B has, she's really good at all this. She kind of keeps us organized, and she's got everything mapped out so that we know, in October when we chose our dates for our activities, we have those already out and on our calendar for next year so that we can plan. We do just kind of an overall thing, and you guys can ask questions or whatever, but we do 4 events for our sphere a year and 2 events for what we call our ambassadors. And our ambassadors are our special people that are your advocates. And to be able to be in our ambassador club, you have to have done 2+ transactions with us or referred 2 or more people. And of course, some people, are up like around the 8, 9, and 10 range, on everything. But those are the things we have taken one of the things that we figured out that we can do well is we can plan parties. And we have taken our skill in party planning and, given it a different twist on doing stuff for our sphere. So I'll let you guys kind of add in on the things that we do.
Well, and I would also like to say that we have found that whether it's a really large event or back prior to COVID, we would do, like little happy hours where we might have 20 people. Either one of those is amazing. People remember it. And you actually, in the smaller ones, get to have some amazing conversations that are one-on-one that maybe at like breakfast with Santa when we were having that pre-COVID, we wouldn't necessarily get to talk to all 260 people. However, when we have the smaller events, so don't feel like if your budget is like, okay, I have $100, you still can have a very nice, small event. You don't have to be a big scale, but if you have the budget, we do, some awesome events, and last year we were trying to figure out, okay, how can we do this and still be, COVID friendly because we want to see our people. So we did like a reverse pop by. Billy and her husband have done barbecues for years and have done competitions, and her husband started a barbecue business. They've done catering, etc. So we're like, okay, we're Kansas City, everybody loves barbecue, right? So we do our slab and sauce shindig where they could just come in, grab a slab, grab a sauce, they could order extra if they wanted, and they could stay if they felt comfortable, or they could go. So last year we didn't have a ton of people stay, which was totally fine. We set it up that way. This year we did have quite a few that stayed and hung out and talked with us. But you don't always have to think in huge terms or even like, oh my gosh, it's going to be this massive event space. We did that at Billy's house, and we set up in the driveway, and it worked really nice. And we still got to have some conversations and see people face to face, even though it was kind of, last year it was a little, we all had masks and it was like, okay, hello.
Yeah. So I think this year we did 150 slabs of ribs.
150.
And then if people wanted to purchase another one, we just said, it's $20 for an extra slab of ribs. So essentially it's kind of like the pie day that a lot of people do. We just, since we had planned the October before COVID hit, all of our events, we were missing a lot of them because they were in person and things weren't open. So we shifted our spring event to our slabs and sauce event, and had a great turnout. So we did it again this year. And I think that will be one of our standard ones. We're planning on doing it again next year, no matter what. So we do our slab and sauce event in the summer, and we try to either kind of organize it around Father's Day or the 4th of July so that people can use them for that. And then they come with baking instructions or reheating instructions of how to reheat your smoked ribs. And then we do our annual pie day, which this year we've changed our pie day to the Monday before Thanksgiving. I know a lot of people do the Tuesday before Thanksgiving, but we started a couple of years doing the Monday before. And it's also, Billie has a great entertainment house, so we do that event there as well. And then next year we have those two events already planned. And then we're still deciding on, our spring event, let me back up. We have a local farmstead here in the Overland Park area where it's a very nice petting zoo. So we rent out a pavilion there, and we do it the weekend of Easter because a lot of our clients have their families in town. So we invite them to bring everyone, which is awesome. And we do a big egg hunt out in the yard. We tell them what time the egg hunt will be, what time the food will be served. And then they get their entrance into the petting zoo the whole time, so they can kind of come and go as they please. And, check in with us because everybody at least wants to be involved in the egg hunt. And then next year, what we're trying to decide if we want to do is we've in the past done a breakfast with Santa. And obviously we've had to take last year and this year off of that. And next year we're trying to decide if we want to do something a little bit different than that, because our pie day and breakfast with Santa are always like 2 weeks apart. So I don't think we're going to do that next year. What are we going to try different? Did we decide, ladies?
Something with the pumpkin patch is in the works.
Yes.
Maybe. Yeah. To do,
so,
offering, we have several places here in town that, they give pumpkins and so something to do with that is kind of in the works. I know a lot of people do that. If you guys have had success with that, let us know so that we can learn from you.
Another thing too that Billie does a good job on is, if you guys are worried about budget for all of these, is we try to zero base as much as we can. So we get sponsors for our events, whether it be our title company, our lender. For Pie Day, we have our title company and our warranty rep helping us out with some of those, so that you can try to take some of the costs off of you. That's something that our coaches have really hammered into us, is that we shouldn't be the ones that are, completely paying for all of this, because we give a lot of business to people that can't always refer us as well. And then our 2 ambassador events that we do each year are always different, but they are extra special. So this year, we are obviously home of the Kansas City Chiefs here. So in the spring, we did a tailgate out in the Arrowhead parking lot for our Ambassador Club members. And then we did a tour of Arrowhead. So we had 3 different groups go through Arrowhead. I think we had about 65 people there, including team members. And then did a tailgate with just burgers and hamburgers, chips, cookies, simple on us out in the parking lot. And then we also arranged it, because it was in the spring, we arranged it to be on the same day as a baseball game, because our complexes are right next door to each other. So people could go to the Royals game after they finished our event if they wanted. And then our second Ambassador Club event was, where was it? We just had it. Oh, we did
October 8th. Yeah.
Yeah, we did a shrimp boil out at Billie's house, which was also really fun. So we did just a Louisiana style shrimp boil. outside around Billy's pool, and just had beer and wine, and it was awesome also. So something a little bit more special for them. They know that it's special. They get a hand addressed, very nice invitation to our Ambassador Club events. And we make them, aware every time that they're here for a reason.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And we've had, we've given the invitation out, and then we've had people respond back on Facebook. Well, how do I become a member of the Ambassador Club? Oh, bingo. So then you get to answer yes, and tell them how, you refer us twice, with people that we can connect with. Because, people might just call and say, oh, here's a name, am I in the Ambassador Club now? So we just kind of have to, add that little stipulation that's somebody that we can connect with. And yeah, but people love to be treated special, and they really do. Of course, we remind them each time when we have the events, and then also we call to invite the people, and we, will again say, this is the Ambassador Club. You guys are special, and just let them know that this is a special thing that they are a part of, because they have, helped us to increase our business, and people love to be treated special. It's great. We've also done ambassador events we did one at the local winery where they could go and they could do wine tasting, and then we had a food truck outside that they could go get food from, and then we had a guitar player that played, and just simple things like that people just love to come to. Mm-hmm. We also, we do postcards. We used to do the 12 direct, and my coach has really hammered me away from snail mail. And so we've kind of cut back to doing 6 of those a year. We still do that though, where they get and you saw the pieces of mail on the screen where they get, something in the mail from us, an invitation or a market update or something. We still do 6 of those a year. And then we do have a monthly newsletter that goes out on the 1st of every month with, videos and invitations and market updates and all that. So, and Brand is a master of that. She does that through our Constant Contact. Let's see what else do we
everything
do.
that they get snail mail or, we always post to social media just in case that's the platform they're on. We also email it to people because oftentimes, if you've just emailed, they may not see it. If you've just posted, they may not see it. So we try and reach out and provide it in multiple areas. That way, wherever they communicate or they go to, they'll be able to see it.
And also to build on that too, Brenda, each of our events has a own invite page on Facebook. And so us as agents, it's our responsibility to go in and invite our people because, you get new clients that you may not be on your last one event. So it's our responsibility to go on and invite them as well.
And just a word of caution, if we learned this the hard way. So when you create an event through your business page, it goes public. You may not want 1,000 people showing up at your event.
That's your Easter egg hunt.
Oh, yeah.
Oops.
So a lot of great advertising, maybe not so much.
Yeah.
So what we learned is if like I created on my personal Facebook page as an event and I invite, the team members as administrative people to that invite, then they can, we can still keep it kind of private. Now, if you want a public event, that's awesome. However, we kind of like to watch the budget a little bit. And so we learned very quickly that we needed to create it on our own personal and share with the team so that it could be a private invite.
Yeah. So,
go ahead. Go ahead.
I was just going to talk about giveaways, but go ahead if you were.
No, go ahead.
Okay. Just another thing that my coach has really encouraged us to do is to do the monthly giveaways on Facebook. And so we've started that. And this past month in October, we went out, Ryan had the idea, normally we did the video here in the office and she had the idea, well, let's go out to the site and do the video out there. So we all ran out and to the Johnson Farms, the Mum and Pumpkin Place, in October for the fall giveaway, and did the video from there. And the beauty of all of that was that Johnson Farms has a big, huge Facebook following as well, and they shared it on their page. So, Brandon, what do we have? Like 1,900 views on that one?
Even more. We had a ton of engagement, probably 4 times the amount of engagement, because they were nice enough to share it on their page. And so it was a valuable lesson that it's not just about doing the giveaway, because you now are in front of people that may have never heard of you. And the fact that they shared it could be a gold mine. We had a lot of people play our giveaway game, just that we didn't even know.
That we didn't know. Yeah.
Yeah. That we could then add to our database.
Yeah. So
it's one of those things that our coach had been preaching to us for a very long time, and we didn't pay attention to it.
Yeah.
And so we finally did, and we're like, oh, they do know what they're talking about. So
yeah, I know we've thrown a lot at you guys, and we're here for questions. Our emails, or you can email us or call us or anything and ask any questions. But and I think we're just about out of time, but the whole thing of why we do this business, and Ryan is going to share her Life by Design philosophy, but it's like why you do everything that you do.
Yeah, so I'm typing all of our emails into our chat box too. And if you
fun.
guys have any questions that you want us to answer before we jump off, because I know you guys have already spent an hour with us and we appreciate that, please drop them in there and we can answer them now, or feel free to email us or look us up and call us. That's more than welcome. But my coach has given us a Life by Design form, and I fill it out based on what I want to do in my life. And it's all based off of my GCI goal. So if I need this much money to live on of my monthly expenses, and I have, say, $20,000 left over for the month, where am I going to allocate that money towards? So that's been a really useful tool for me. I am not a numbers person, you guys. I am a 98 high I. I have 0 C in my life. And it's changed my way of living. My husband and I had a goal to buy a lake house, and we bought a condo. And then 9 months later, we bought another one so we can start investment properties. So just utilizing that and really tracking where your money's going has been super beneficial. So highly recommend doing a Life by Design. I know I kind of breezed through that, but if you guys have any questions, feel free to call me.
And all of the things that we talked about today, I'm going to be sharing a link to a folder with your office. And that way you can kind of go in, personalize them, use what you want, and have access to all of that.
Any last questions, guys? Thank you so much for joining us today.
Yes, thanks for having us. We were very honored.
Yes, thank you very much.
Being here today, we appreciate it.
Yeah, so good luck to everybody, and go get them.
Yeah.
Thank
Have
you.
an amazing day.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks.